Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm just going to share a little video with you on how we homeschool American history without textbooks. You know, my husband is working out of town this week, and when he works out of town, it's always a bit nerve-wracking for me. So I was having such a hard time racking my brain trying to come up with a video idea that I could kind of get into, because I just wasn't at the mental state today to want to dive into anything really deep. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to share how we homeschool American history without textbooks. Now, I have shared many videos on how we homeschool other subject areas without textbooks, and I've even talked about relaxed homeschooling for history, and in those videos I'm usually sharing different ways that you can do things. But what I'm going to share with you today is what we are specifically doing right now in our homeschool for American history. So not like a bunch of other ideas, but this is just what we are doing, and I thought that maybe it might give you some ideas if you would want to incorporate any of these things if you were just looking for a way that you could approach history without, reading through textbooks or long workbooks. So I'm going to actually start with how we do it for our high schoolers first of all, because this is probably my favorite way that we've done American history so far. Now, you guys know that I have been doing living books in our homeschool for a long time, and they are such a great replacement for textbooks because they are actually interesting. They give you a deeper look into what life was like in whatever time period that you are learning about, and they just keep the reader engaged. It's not something that is very dry and then it kind of, you just want to forget about it after you're done reading it. So what we've been doing is we have been, for high school, each of my high schoolers is reading a living book right now. They each have a different one because some of my high schoolers, since they're different ages, 14, 15, and 18. Now, my 14-year-old, I should mention, is only in 8th grade, but I still, consider her to be in my teens group. But, for example, my 18-year-old has already read Johnny Tremain, so she doesn't have to read that anymore. So actually, my 15-year-old is reading Johnny Tremain right now. My 14-year-old just got done reading a biography of Benjamin Franklin, and tomorrow she will be starting this biography on Paul Revere and the Minutemen. And my 18-year-old is actually reading Carry On, Mr. Bowditch, which some of you might have seen my other video about how we were using that for our read aloud for our middles group. So since my 18-year-old did not listen to that with us and she had never read the book herself, she is reading Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. And so what I wanted was, I wanted a way to get what they are learning kind of more deeply ingrained into their minds. And, a lot of times the best way to do that is to try different approaches. So one of the things that I have been doing, besides having my high schoolers read these living books on this time period that we're learning about, which is obviously the American Revolution right now, is I have been having them watch every other day. They watch an episode of Drive-Through History. And I don't know if you know anything about Drive-Through History, but they're actually 20-minute segments, and they have episodes on so many different time periods in history, not just American history, but we are watching the American history series right now. And the show is, like I said, it's 20 minutes long, so they're not overly long, and it's comical. And I'm going to admit, some of the jokes that he tells, they're kind of corny jokes, which I get a kick out of them because I like corny jokes. My kids kind of roll their eyes like, of course you would like that, Mom. But it's something that actually lets them see, get a visual look at what that time period was like, what the architecture was like, what these battlefields look like, what the setting was like in all of the things that they have been reading about. So that makes things really interesting for them. On the days that they are not doing the Drive-Through History, they are completing timelines out of the Giant American History Timeline. Now, a couple years ago, I actually did a review on this, so I'll link that in the description box if you wanted to get a really close look at this. But I love these timeline pages because here, I'll just, you know what? I'm going to wait till the end of the video and I'll flip through then. But what I usually have them do is I will find something. Now, they usually will all be doing the same worksheet in the timeline. And I will have them fill out whatever timeline I copied for them that day. Like today they did one on, I'm trying to find it, on the Sugar Act and the Stamp Act and on taxation without representation. So, okay, so this is the one that they filled out today. And, you know, it just gives them, again, a way to solidify the information that they are reading about and seeing on drive-through history. And, you know, these timelines are great. It's not just for early American history, by the way. It goes all the way through pre-colonization up to, I have book 2 here, so up to the present, which, you know, doesn't really include present time, like, you know, President Trump present, but it does go up to, I'm trying to see where we're at. It goes up to, the invasion of Iraq. So it goes up, it's pretty recent that this one goes up to. So again, if you would like to check these out, they're not just for like American Revolution time period. It's just for American history. So I'll give you a closer look at the end of the video on this. Now, and that is honestly, that is how my high schoolers have been tackling American history. I think that it's really important that they get a sense of where they came from and what our roots are here. I'm going to admit that most of you know me, so I have been reading up on the Masonic history of our country's origins. So while I have not incorporated that into their lessons or anything like that, I do talk to them about what I'm reading. So stay tuned. We'll see if I change anything the more that I learn about that, because, you know, you just don't know anymore. Anyway, moving on, I just want to quickly tell you that now for my middles and my 6-year-old, because she works with my middles now, my middles are in grades 3, 4, 6, and 7. And again, my 6-year-old, who is in 1st grade, she also works with them. And what we have been doing, excuse me, is we have been reading one, I guess you could call it chapter or one story a week out of a child's first book of American history. Now, the reason that I'm only doing one chapter a week with them out of this is because we do unit studies all week long. So my kids are getting history. They're getting all of their subjects in through the unit study every other day of the week. So the reason that I am doing American history one day a week is because, yes, I do think that it's important for all kids to know about where they came from, no matter what country they're living in. And so since we are covering history from, you know, all sorts of history through our unit studies, I really wanted to make sure that we do have at least one day a week that we are learning about American history. So the day that we are doing that is actually my grocery shopping day. My grocery shopping day is typically our nature study day. And so we do not do like a regular school day on that day, and things are a little bit different on that one day. Now, since it's been way too cold for us to be doing nature study lately, we've been having usually a movie day instead. Like last week was when we watched Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library, because that's our new read aloud. So what I've been doing is I've been reading this to them first, and then they've either been watching a movie, or depending on if the weather is actually nice enough, we've been doing nature study. And so along with that, on the days that I can, now the ones that we've been reading lately have been on the Native Americans, and I did not see any timeline pages on the Native Americans in here unless I missed them somehow. So those few weeks I was not able to have them do a timeline page. But when I can get a timeline page to coincide with what we are reading in that anthology of histories, I will have them fill it out too. Now, obviously, I don't have like my 6-year-old fill this out, or my 8-year-old, or even my 10-year-old. I've been trying to stick more to like my 11 and 12-year-old doing it, because these books are great, but I think that they are probably better suited for like middle schoolers or high schoolers, unless you have maybe an upper elementary age child that really enjoys writing and really enjoys researching and doing these things on their own. I've been tending to stick with this for a little bit of our older age kids. So anyway, now that I told you how we've been doing these things in our homeschool, let me just give you a really quick look inside what this timeline book looks like. And that way, you know, you can decide if you would want to check it out. Again, I do have a more extensive video that I'll link in the description box. Okay, so this is it. This is the giant American history timeline that we've been using. I'm not going to go through like everything in it. I just wanted to give you a glimpse into what these pages look like. So here we have before human settlement, North America, 1607 Jamestown, and I'm just skipping pages, but I just want you to see what they have on it. Like Jamestown was the first blank English settlement in North America. Jamestown is located in what is now the state of blank. And you know, usually I do not like worksheets, but I really do like the way that these are set up, and I like that they have so many different varieties of the way that they are approaching things. For example, here we have this John Smith and Pocahontas biography. Here we have a chart on the middle colonies, and if you notice, they have the year up at the top of every single one of the worksheets. And so this makes it really easy to keep a nice timeline notebook for American history. So here we have the French and Indian War and some questions for them to fill out about that. The Quartering Act, which actually the Drive-Through American History that we just watched yesterday, that was partially about the Quartering Act. And so, as you can see, all different sorts of worksheets and different ways to get this information down. But I think that it's a nice supplement to doing the living books with the kids. If you are trying to stay away from the textbook style of learning, which most of you know, our family does not use textbooks. So this has been a really great tool to use with that. And I'll just show you the other book, because again, I told you there is a book 2. So, and book 2 is the one that is 1870s to present. So we'll just take a look through this. Here we have about the bicycle, the invention of the bicycle, corruption in big business. Well, that's going on even today, isn't it? Late 1800s and early 1900s, muckrakers. We have the United States there in 1910, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, Alvin York, the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression. Here we have a Venn diagram on women's fashions. That's interesting. Pearl Harbor, major effects of World War II, National World War II Memorial. Sorry, I almost said monument. But yeah, so all of these pages are, I think, really interesting and are going to help your kids to retain that knowledge that they've learned even better through their videos and through the living books, if that's how you choose to do things in your homeschool. And I know that some of you are probably going to ask for a closer look of this other book that I showed you that I use with my middles. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. This I actually got with my Beautiful Feet books, Early American History Intermediate. But I still use it even now. We finished that already, but I'm still using this now because, again, this has lots of great information in it. It has nice illustrations, and it covers a lot, if you can see that here. So these are all of the different subjects that are covered. And again, oh, see, that's where we are. That's why, that's right. I'm one of those people that turns the pages down. There's evidence right there. So that's actually what we're going to be reading tomorrow. And again, you know, really nice, engaging, detailed illustrations. And it gives your kids a nice overview of what American history is all about. And this is, you know, it's kind of a great summary of American history for before your kids actually start getting more into the detailed bits of American history through living books. At least that's how it is in our home. So anyway, that's all that I had for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram because YouTube disabled my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.